My husband is currently packing his bags and also packing our kids' stuff because he is going to leave to another state, all because I cheated on him with a mutual friend. My husband and I have been together for a while. No, I don't think there was any issues in the relationship or marriage whatsoever. I actually thought our life was pretty perfect, but then I decided to talk to one of our mutual friends, and one thing led to another. I think I was just really tired of the fact that my husband was constantly working, so I just felt very lonely, so I decided that I was just going to message his friend, just like we are friends, nothing else, that was it. And then all of a sudden it just led to something else. I mean, at least I had the balls to actually tell my husband what was going on, because I could have kept it from him. I could have just moved on without telling him. After I told him, I was very surprised about his reaction, because he was not freaking out or panicking. He just said, okay, and then he said he was going to pack his shit and go, but he was also going to take the kids.
First off, well done to the man. This is exactly how you should respond to such behavior. You don't need to freak out. You don't need to go after the guy that she cheated on you with. You should actually just thank her for showing you who she really is, which would be someone who is not loyal and clearly doesn't appreciate everything that you provide for her. I know this can be hard to wrap your head around, but you need to thank her and your friend, because you could have spent the next 10, 20, 30 years believing that these were people who truly loved you and were loyal to you and good people to have in your circle.
My rent is $6,000. My nails, $150. My hair, $300 minimum. All right, my facials, at least $200, $250. So I pay for all this myself. I do not expect a man to take care of this for me, because he is my partner, not my father. All right? I think a minute left now. Ladies, when a man invites you over to his apartment or his house for the first time, please rob him. Please understand that this man wants you to rob him. All right?
Wait, what? You had me in the first half. I was agreeing with you. You know what I'm saying? Because your man is not your father. He is not your caretaker. He is your partner. You was right. You was right on course. Then you just did a random turn out of nowhere. Why? You advising women to rob men that invite them to their cribs? And there's women agreeing with her in the comments. Y'all are putting yourselves in a life-threatening situation.
My New Year's wish is to ward off all the brokies, dusties, and bare minimum men.
Well, sure. Why not? Everyone's allowed to have their own preferences when it comes to who they decide to date.
In 2026, I need proof of income, at least 2 pay stubs, the LinkedIn profile, and social security number if you're trying to go on a date.
I really hope that they were joking. However, there are quite a lot of women out there that do have the particular preference that they only date men that have a certain level of financial success, which is fine. However, a lot of those women seem to get rather upset when you ask what specific things do they bring to the relationship other than their looks. A lot of them will simply say that they bring themselves and that should be enough. But they're not taking into consideration very successful men often have very specific preferences in regards to the women that they date as well. And a lot of women think that men should just be happy that women are willing to date them, until they learn that men also have preferences.
What's being described here isn't confidence. It's not self-worth. It's inflated entitlement with no foundation underneath it. When someone shows up bringing nothing but stress, demands, and expectations, that's not a partner. That's a liability. And the most telling part is this: the ego didn't come from results. It came from validation without contribution. Somewhere along the way, a narrative was sold that simply existing is enough to deserve provision. Let's be honest, this clip cuts straight through the noise, and it exposes a pattern a lot of people are finally waking up to. Before we dive in, drop a comment. Are modern men more delusional, or is it the ladies? Hit like and subscribe so you don't miss what we expose next. Somewhere along the way, a narrative was sold that simply existing is enough to deserve provision, protection, and patience from a man you haven't even met. No shared history, no investment, no proven loyalty, just vibes and expectations. That's not dating. That's auditioning someone to finance a lifestyle. And here's where it gets uncomfortable. A lot of these dynamics aren't accidents, they're learned. Social media, dating apps, and echo chambers have convinced certain people that their presence alone is value, while responsibility, effort, and reciprocity are optional. Then they're shocked when men start opting out. Calling this what it is matters. When someone drains time, money, energy, and emotional bandwidth, while being offended at the idea of giving anything tangible back. That's not empowerment. That's extraction. It's a one-way transaction dressed up as healthy relationships are built on exchange, not entitlement. Respect isn't demanded up front. It's earned through consistency, accountability, and mutual effort. And the more people ignore that reality, the more frustration, resentment, and division we're going to see in modern dating. This isn't about hating anyone. It's about recognizing patterns that quietly destroy relationships before they even begin.
To vote if it meant you got drafted into the army?
Yes.
Why is it more socially acceptable for women to hate men than it is for men to hate women?
Because men are the devil. Because men are trash.
If men are more valued in society than women, why would they be the first ones sacrificed in war?
Because they think they're more valued. They're being paid for more for everything, so you put your online.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
Why are the men of today expected to pay for the sins of the men of the past?
Because they still keep making the same mistakes.
So is feminism about revenge?
No, feminism is about our right to be, allowed.
I think it's a base level of equality that we're trying to reach over here, and as long as we can get to that, then I think we're chilling, but we got a long way to go.
This is where the conversation usually collapses because once you ask for specifics, the talking points start to fall apart. When someone says men are uniquely privileged in America, the obvious follow-up is simple. Name the right, not a feeling, not a social complaint. An actual legal right that men have and women do not. And that's where things get quiet, because in practice, equal rights already exist under the law. What rarely gets discussed are the areas where the imbalance runs the other direction. Take selective service. Men are legally required to register for a potential draft. Women are not. That's not a hypothetical. That's a real, enforceable obligation tied to citizenship. Yet it's almost never mentioned in mainstream equality conversations because it doesn't fit the narrative. And this points to a bigger issue. A lot of modern equality activism isn't about fairness. It's about convenience. If equality were the real goal, the loudest voices would be focused on places where women are genuinely oppressed countries, where girls can't go to school, can't choose who they marry, can't leave abusive situations, and don't have basic legal autonomy. But those issues don't come with social clout, brand deals, or viral hashtags. They don't directly benefit the people shouting the loudest in the West, so they're largely ignored. Instead, energy gets poured into symbolic battles in societies where legal equality already exists. That's the contradiction. Equality is framed as a moral absolute, but it's applied selectively. Responsibilities are avoided, benefits are emphasized, and accountability is treated like an attack. When a movement only pushes for advantages and never obligations, people start questioning whether it's about justice or just leverage. And once people see that pattern, it becomes very hard to unsee it.
Not making angry responses to my video calling them losers, because men get called losers on this app every single day. And that's part of the reason why men are typically better at taking accountability than women. You know why? We tell men the truth. Men tell other men the truth. They will tell their friend, hey, you're fat. Hey, you're not good looking. Hey, you're not smart, and mean it. And you know what happens with those men? Oftentimes, they work on it and actually get better. However, let's take a look at us, ladies, because we do not tell each other the truth about almost anything. You will let your girlfriend go out there raggedy, and you'll be in her comments, yes, slay, boss, queen, you look like a 10 out of 10. You're lying, and you know it. And on top of that, we'll put on silly little names like, oh, she's just a girl, I'm just a girl. You ran up your credit card to 20K. That's not just a girl. You caused an accident that almost killed somebody. You're not just a girl. You're sleeping around with way too many men for you to keep track of and cheating on your spouse. You're not just a girl. You're a terrible human being. And I'm tired of women allowing other women to be terrible human beings. On my side of TikTok, I will call out the men who are terrible and the women who are terrible, because there's terrible people everywhere. And we have to get away from this idea that it's just the men. It has never been, it will never be just the men. To any of the girlies that were super triggered by my video, this is how men feel on the internet every day. Congratulations. Welcome to equality.
Why do you think you're entitled to something I work for? Touchy topic, I want to talk about marriage and divorce. My homie was talking to this porcupine. She told him that if they was to get married and he was to come into that marriage with property, she believes that she should own 50% of that property. Now, at the time, my homie really loved her, so he didn't have a problem with that. But he did ask her, well, if you came into the marriage with property, would you feel comfortable giving me 50% of that property? She said no. So immediately I'm like, nah, bro, she's rage baiting you. Based on the comments that I've read from the Provider Man video I made, I have a question. Do women genuinely expect men to be okay with that situation? Why would any man want to marry into that? Me as a man, I don't know the role that a woman should play. I'm not the person that's going to set that standard up. That's not something for me to do. I do have certain expectations, but none of them have to do with a woman being a woman. I just want people to be nice to me. The person that I love needs to be nice to me. My question is, do women think the role of a man is to be mistreated and abused and undervalued and be happy about it? And this is a genuine question. I'm not asking this to be, I'm not throwing no rocks and hiding I'm genuinely asking, like, is that what you want from us? The example that I gave, there's no way my homie's girlfriend was marrying for love. There's no way you can treat somebody that you love that way. I'm personally convinced that the perfect man is a man that suffers at the hands of his wife and is happy about it. Happy wife, happy life. That is such a crazy statement. Shouldn't the husband also have some form of happiness? Like, why would your partner being unhappy?
This is the quiet truth most people learn. To late selfish people don't change because you love them harder. They change only when their behavior stops working. And in many cases, it never does, because there's always someone willing to tolerate it. When someone consistently centers themselves, dismisses consequences, and rationalizes harm as long as they benefit, that's not a flaw, that's a pattern. And patterns are predictive. The earlier you recognize them, the less damage you absorb. Avoidance isn't cruelty, it's discernment. Choosing not to date, marry, or closely associate with people who have clearly demonstrated entitlement and a lack of empathy is not bitterness, it's risk management. These are the same individuals who will drain your time, test your boundaries, and then blame you when things fall apart. What makes this especially dangerous is how normalized this behavior has become. Self-interest is now framed as self-care. Accountability is labeled as control, and anyone who refuses to play along is called insecure or threatened. That inversion keeps people stuck in harmful dynamics far longer than they should be. Healthy relationships, romantic or otherwise, require mutual consideration. If someone is comfortable benefiting at your expense, they are not misunderstood. They are showing you exactly who they are. The real lesson here is simple but uncomfortable. Peace comes faster when you stop trying to rescue people from their own character. Boundaries don't make you cold, they make you stable. And the more intentional you are about who gets access to you, the less chaos you invite into your life.
Act like he can't choose between one or two things.
Ladies and gentlemen, I regret to inform y'all that our public school education has failed us once more. Viewer discretion is advised.
Sometimes you gotta give him the alternator. Like, sometimes make him pick. Like, either this or that. Give him the alternator. Stop letting him mislead you and carry on without an answer or a choice that needs to be made. Give him alternators.
I just think we need to turn off the internet for like a month or so. I think remove the internet for a month and hand everybody a book of some sort, because this is getting too far out of hand. Because I understand what she's trying to say, but the word she's looking for is ultimatum and not alternator. An alternator is a car part that produces electricity, helps you charge your battery while the car is running, provides electricity and power to your dashboard, AC, things of that nature. An ultimatum is a statement or a demand that is typically followed by some sort of consequence if it is not met. She said that with such confidence, which ultimately tells me that she's been saying that for quite some time and no one ever corrected her. We gotta do better as people. This is getting way out of hand, but you know what? I know she ain't gonna listen to me because I am just a normal guy.
Name one thing women created. Computer software, coffee filters, beer, the birth control pill, car heaters, the chocolate chip cookie, the technology that made the moon landing possible, edgeless makeup sponges, aquariums, electric refrigerators, high-dyne rocket fuel, and oh yeah, 8 billion people.
There's a huge disconnect happening between men and women right now, and I want to share something I've been realizing about why men seem to be getting better while most women are struggling more. And I've been thinking about this a lot lately. Men have all these platforms teaching them accountability and how to level up. But when I look at what we as women are consuming, it honestly made me realize something important. But I started noticing what we as women are consuming. Keeping Up with the Kardashians, Call Her Daddy, Girls Gotta Eat, Real Housewives, Love Island, and there's just so many more. And I realized this content is programming us to create more drama, feel more entitled, and expect things without bringing anything valuable ourselves. I see influencers like Shira7, Miss Sprinkle Sprinkle, teaching manipulation tactics, and others like Ari Kitsia, if that's how you say it, promoting OnlyFans culture, teaching us that our value comes from our sexuality instead of building actual skills or character. So we have reality TV teaching us drama, podcasts teaching us entitlement, and influencers teaching us toxic behaviors. While men are learning discipline, accountability, and how to build real value. I think the reason men don't consume this toxic content is because they don't tolerate drama. But we as women tend to be more drawn to emotional and social content, which makes us more susceptible to this programming. And the media industry knows this and exploits it. And here's what I've noticed. Whenever a woman tries to hold other women accountable, we get defensive and attack her for it. I keep seeing comments saying, this applies to men too, and although you're right, here's what I've observed. Men seem more willing to consume content that challenges them, while we gravitate toward content that validates us. The accountability content for women exists, but we're less likely to engage with it positively. When women try to help other women grow, we often get called pick-me or accused of having internalized misogyny. Men have an entire ecosystem telling them to take responsibility and work harder, and they listen. We have way more content telling us we're perfect as we are and that our problems are someone else's fault. I've realized that most of us don't want to be challenged. We prefer to be validated in our dysfunction. Meanwhile, men are embracing tough love and actually improving themselves. Men are consuming content that makes them better. We're consuming content that makes us worse. And then we wonder why there's such a disconnect. If we want better relationships and lives, we need to start consuming content.
This is where you keep the momentum and guide the viewer forward without breaking immersion. If this breakdown resonated with you, the next video takes this conversation even further. We connect the dots, expose what most people are still pretending not to see, and show how these patterns play out in real relationships. Click into the next video. I'll see you there.